Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over my Templar healer build for Clockwork City. Not too much has changed from last patch, but I'll be going over the changes as well as briefly going over my normal setup for those who are new. So there are really just two main differences worth noting in this patch. The first one being that we lost the max magicka bonus from our Master Resto, but instead we get to enchant it. I use a spell damage glyph, which increases healing on your skills when it's procced, because spell damage affects your healing. I'll show right now that my Springs tooltip is 2145, and when I let attack and proc the enchant, it goes up to 2299. So this helps compensate for the lost max magicka. The other change is the addition of this food, the Clockwork citrus fillet. It is expensive to craft, but it allows us to squeeze out a little bit more max stats compared to Witch Mothers. If you can't afford to make this, it's fine. It just allows us to take a little bit out of health and put it back into magicka, but it's so minimal, I don't think you'll notice a big difference. Moving on to gear sets. Gear sets haven't really changed since last patch. You still run 5-piece spell power cure with either Mending or Worm, and sometimes IA. Master Resto Staff is still the best option for healing due to its stamina return. And back bar, I run an infused lightning staff with weakening to decrease damage done by enemies. The enchants that I run on my jewelry is I run 1 magicka recovery and 2 cost reduction. This is just how I've found it easiest to sustain. Jewelry enchants are all about your sustain, so if you find yourself better off with 2 regen, 1 cost reduction, or any combination of spell damage, cost reduction, or regen, by all means do that. It's very much personal preference. This is just what I've found to work best. One thing I get a lot of questions about is the Asylum Resto. It's pretty worthless for the most part, but if you don't have a Master Resto, you could run one of these because it's a little easier to get. You could also run 2 set staves, like 2 SPC staves, and then run a 1-piece monster helm. One place I did find the Asylum staff to be useful though was at the very beginning of Asylum progression. You're going to be spamming Breath of Life a lot, so you can use Combat Prayer and then it will reduce the cost of your Breath of Life. It just makes sustaining a little bit easier since you probably will not be using Healing Springs very much. For my Mundus Stone, I run the Atro, which is pretty standard. It gives you magicka recovery. For my attributes, I run 6 points into health and 58 into magicka. This is highly determined by your race. I'm an Argonian, so I get 9% bonus health. If you're a Breton or an Aldmer, you're going to need to put more points into health. Your goal should be to hit 18k health with food. I found this to be a very safe number to hit. My skills are also very much the same. Front bar is still Healing Springs, Orbs, Combat Prayer, Breath of Life, and Inner Light. The main thing that a lot of people ask me about is why I front bar Orbs. It's so that I can more easily use them and kind of weave them with my other heals because they do heal a lot and it's good to use a lot of them so that your group can use the synergy. Inner Light, I try to never take off my bar because it gives you a lot more max magicka, which is really important now that we've lost the max magicka from our Resto staff, and it also gives you Major Prophecy, which increases your spell crit. For my back bar, I have Shards, Ellie Drain, Extended Ritual, Blockade of Storms, and Purge. These 2 slots are pretty much flex spots, so you can replace either of these situationally with Channeled Focus, Harness Magicka, a Dawn's Wrath ability, anything you really need to go here. Ultimate, I use Warhorn. I double bar it if I don't need a second ulti, like if I don't need a Nova or I don't want to have Resto ult. I usually just double bar Warhorn to prevent mess ups because sometimes there's lag and bar swap issues and you know the deal. In my last video I forgot to go over CP setups, which I'm going to go over now. For my raid tree, it's a pretty standard setup: 49 Hardy, 49 Ellie Defender, 56 Thick Skinned, 56 Ironclad, and 20 Spell Shield. This is a pretty good setup for almost everything. Really the only time that I will change this tree is if I'm going into Maw hard mode. I will take points out of Hardy and distribute them into Ellie Defender, Spell Shield, and these other ones, just because there is almost no physical damage in Maw of Lurkage. For my blue tree, I put 100 into Elfborn, 100 into Blessed, and the other 30 points I just kind of put wherever because there isn't a whole lot to do here. If your goal is to do more damage as a healer, you're probably better off taking 25 out of each of these and just doing 75, 75, and then distributing the rest where you want them. But since my goal is literally just to do as much healing as I can, I put 100 into here because there's no better place for me to put them that's useful. For my green tree, the main thing is that you have 75 into Tenacity and 75 into Arcanist. The rest you can distribute however you want throughout Warlord, Bashing, Focus, Tumbling, and Shadow Ward. I change these a lot depending on the trial that I'm doing because there are some trials where you need to dodge roll more, some trials where you need to block more, there's some where you need to break free. This is probably what I change the most with my CP. You can distribute them evenly too if you just want an even split. That's pretty much it for changes for this patch in my setup. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. I'd be happy to help you out. I hope you found this guide useful, and thank you for watching.